Welcome back into the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060. The phone number to join the show, 480-864-1060. You can also join us on the live stream on YouTube, KDUS AM 1060 over there as well if you want to join the conversation there. We continue to unpack. We continue to debrief from the Cardinals' third loss in a row on Sunday, falling to the Seattle Seahawks, all but ending their playoff chances. I have seen people out there, I think people that are acting in good faith, I think people that are good-natured, attempting to say, hey, things are not done here. Mathematically, they are still alive. They are still just one game back of the rest of the teams in the division at 7-6 atop the standings. There is still a path. The schedule is very nice for them the rest of the way. I get all of that, and I can appreciate the positive spin on all of this. But I can't unravel what we've seen for the last 3 weeks from this team. And that's why I'm asking, will the real Cardinals step up? Because they have 4 games to try to make all of those people look like geniuses. They have a chance to make all of those people look smart for keeping the faith, for saying that, yes, there is still a path. You should not think that the season is over, like we proclaimed yesterday here on the show. They have a chance. They have 4 games to do so. The Panthers, the Patriots, the 49ers, the Rams, the opponents that stand in the Cardinals' way from being able to prove all of those people true. So which version of the Arizona Cardinals are we going to get over those 4 games? Which version of the Arizona Cardinals is the real version? Is the real Arizona Cardinals the team that we saw start 2-4 this season? Is that the real Arizona Cardinal team? A team that struggled against solid opponents, against good opponents, dug themselves an early hole, dug themselves a deficit that basically put the expectations at rock bottom? Are they the team that won 4 games in a row? That went from 2-4 to 6-4, from last place to first place to controlling their fate in the NFC West? Are they that team that took on the Chargers on Monday night, that went down to Miami and beat the Dolphins, destroyed the Bears at home, destroyed the Jets at home? Is that the real Arizona Cardinal team? With no pressure, a 2-4 start to the year, that is the backdrop. They rattle off 4 straight wins in a row to head into their bye 6-4. Is that the real Arizona Cardinals? Or the real Arizona Cardinals, the team that we've seen for 3 games after the bye? A team that had everything in front of them. A team that had a division in front of them, a home playoff game in front of them, a double-digit win season in front of them, a real coming out party to show to the rest of the NFL world, this coaching staff is for real, this quarterback is for real, this is a different Cardinals era. That's what they had over the last 3 weeks. And they went 0-3 in that stretch. So which one is it? 2-4, 4-0, 0-3? A team that caved to the pressure early, dug themselves a 2-4 hole? Are they the team that, with no expectations, with no pressure, rattled off 4 wins to put themselves back into this race, and then immediately, when faced with that pressure, crumbled for 3 straight weeks? Which team is it? Which version of the Arizona Cardinals is real? And more importantly, which version of the Arizona Cardinals are we going to get over the final 4 weeks of the season? Because yes, to all the people out there who would point to them not having an E next to their name in the standings, to those that would point that they are mathematically alive in the playoff race, they are just 1 game back record-wise from the Rams and from the Seahawks. 2 games back from the Seahawks, 1 game back from the Rams in the division. Yes, mathematically, it is possible. Mathematically, they can potentially come back from this. But they no longer control their fate because they handed 2 wins to the Seattle Seahawks, who now sit at 8-5 atop of this division. So not only do the Cardinals, who are in front of the 49ers right now, have to get through the Rams, They then also have to make up 3 games against the Seahawks because making up 2 games isn't enough. It isn't enough. If the 2 teams are tied at the end of the season, the Seahawks will win the tiebreaker. So which version of the Arizona Cardinals will we get over the final 4 weeks? According to ESPN, Football Power Index, their chances of making the playoffs are 8.5%. 8.5% chance to make the playoffs. They have a 7.3% chance to win the division. That is what they did on Sunday by losing to the Seattle Seahawks. So which version is the real version, and which version do we get over the remainder of the season? And I think the easy answer to that question is this team told us who they were. When the season started and there was quote-unquote pressure of everybody's alive at the start of the year, everybody can make hay in the division, everybody can put themselves in a position to win and make the playoffs. Everybody's alive the first 6 weeks of the season. The Cardinals showed us that pressure and the opponents that they played, they couldn't meet the challenge. They couldn't hold up their end of the bargain. They went 2-4. And then, when the expectations were at rock bottom, when the expectations were 0, you were just hoping to look at this team be competitive the rest of the way. And if they got to 7 wins, you'd feel good about it. They rattled off 4 straight victories. Again, no pressure because you're 2-4. You have to just rattle off a bunch of wins to just put yourself back into the playoff race. And the Cardinals did exactly that. They got to 6-4. They got to the bye week. All of the press clippings were talking about them leading the division, controlling their fate, being in control of the NFC West, and really, truly going from 2-4 to 6-4. They clawed back their season. They earned the opportunity to play meaningful December football games with a chance to have 2024 be an impactful season. And then when that pressure kicked in, just like it was there at the beginning of the year, they crumbled. And so right now, with a 6-7 football team who has got an 8.5% chance of making the playoffs, this is a low-pressure environment for this team in the grand scheme of things. I think there's pressure on Kyler Murray to answer the bell and to stave off conversations in the summertime of whether or not the Cardinals need to move on from him. But you have a team that right now is going to be in a low-pressure environment because they crumbled under the pressure. They put themselves in this hole. So I expect the remaining 4 games of this season to be the same roller coaster ride we've gone on throughout the entire year. That now that we are in a low-pressure environment, when they play the Panthers, when they play the Patriots, they'll win those games because it's low pressure. And then they'll get themselves back to 8-7. And those playoff odds might go up a little bit. Those playoff odds might double to 16%. I don't know what the math will be. I don't know what the math will be, but maybe they'll double. But then at 8-7, there'll be a path. There'll be a mathematical path. And all that pressure will come swooping back in when you take on the 49ers and Rams to end the season. And as we've seen, as we have proof, this team doesn't handle that pressure correctly. So which version is the real version of the Arizona Cardinals? It depends on the environment they're in. When the environment is low pressure, they're the 4-0 version. When there is pressure, they're the version we've seen for the last 3 weeks. It's up to them to change that narrative. Because we have 2 distinct sample sizes that directly correlate to the amount of pressure this team has been under. Because even when they were winning the 4th game against the Jets to get themselves to 6-4 going into the bye week, there was still a low-pressure environment. This team has not handled the pressure correctly. They have not met the challenge. So right now, since we are back to it being low pressure when they take on the Panthers and the Patriots and the Panthers the next couple of weeks, Patriots on Sunday and then the Panthers next week in Carolina, it's low pressure. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got back to 8-7. And the door opened back up again for at Rams 49ers to end the year. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a place where at LA on December 29th. Could be a game between two teams that have very similar records. And that could be the game that pole vaults the Cardinals back into second place, potentially back into a place of having playoff hopes. That's where the pressure shows up. And I've seen this team handle pressure this season. I've seen this team play a big game in Seattle against a divisional opponent. I've seen this team travel on the road to play a really good Minnesota team who they had on the ropes in the second half. And I've seen this team come home with the ability to wash the bad taste out of the last 2 weeks out of everybody's mouths and put themselves in pole position. And what did they do? They crumbled. And so I don't want to give some half-baked answer on what the real Arizona Cardinals are, but the real Arizona Cardinals is what we've seen. Low pressure, they look good. When there is pressure, they crumble. They have to change that narrative over the next 4 weeks. They have to pretty much run the table and end the season 10-7. Because if they don't, if this is a 7-10 end of the year, if this is an 8-9 end of the year, I wonder what conversations we're going to have in the summer and in the offseason when it comes to this team. So the real Arizona Cardinals, it's a addition of all of those versions that we've seen, the three distinct versions that we've seen. And it all goes back to one word, pressure, and how they handle